All right. Hope my transition lenses kick in soon. I hope with the sun that's in the room. And my first personal hardship I'm going to talk about is getting suits that fit, because clearly I don't have one on right now. So it's one of the personal hardships I experienced. But no, in reality, what I'm going to talk about today is how personal hardships can become the cornerstones of our lives. And it goes upon a theme Henry was talking about at the Cornerstone meeting. I've had some personal and financial hardships in my life that allowed me to, at the time, you think it's something that's like gonna completely ruin your life, but you can actually turn that into something that's a cornerstone to let you build a pretty amazing creation out of your life. So I think, sometimes we make mistakes in our lives and we think that it's a bad thing. Now, what I've done in my life, what I've found is that you can turn those tough situations and those catastrophic events, per se, into positive experiences for growth. Now, Napoleon Hill, I am obsessed with his books. I'm going to read one quote by him, and then I'll kind of summarize another one. So he says, "Seldom does an individual enter upon highly creative effort in any field of endeavor before the age of 40. The average man reaches the period of his greatest capacity to create between 40 and 60. These statements are based upon analysis of thousands of men and women who've been carefully observed. They should be encouraging to those who fail to arrive before the age of 40 and to those who become frightened at the approach of old age around the 40-year mark." Clearly, this was written in the early 1900s. "The years between 40 and 50, as a rule, are the most fruitful. Man should approach this age not with fear and trembling, but with hope and eager anticipation." So I think a lot of what that comes from is that it takes time for us to learn from mistakes that we make and to learn from hardships that we go through. And it's like steel, right? Steel gets tempered through heat and constant beating it down, and that can create a forged steel for our lives. So I'll talk about some of the stuff that I have gone through in my life and that I used as a cornerstone for my life. And you can restart every day, right? And like Henry said, you have the cornerstone, and if it's off a little bit, right, that wall, then you got to rebuild. And that's okay. Sometimes we set these cornerstones for our life and we go in a certain way, and then we have to rebuild it. We have to tear it down and start over again. So I did really well in high school. I got a full scholarship to a college for chemistry, and I started using OxyContin in 2009. Quickly progressed to heroin, which typically doesn't lead to many great things. And I did not so great things when I was in addiction. I've seen people die. I've had to put people's bodies next to dumpsters and call the ambulance. I've had to bring people back from being dead. I've overdosed. And I did not the best things to make money. You typically don't associate with the best crowds when you're doing that type of thing. So I got in trouble in July 9th, 2014, and I went to jail for about 6 months, rehab for about a year afterwards. And then, when I was there, I thought it was the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. But I'm telling you, take the hardships that you go through and turn them into ways for growth. Because I remember I was sitting in the rehab, and everybody was in a group, and they're like, "Hey, what are you going to get for a job today?" I'm like, "I'm not getting a job. I'm going to get a career." And I was 100% serious. So I looked at my phone. They want you to get be humble, don't make too much money. At least don't make more money than me. That's the way the counselors want it. So it's so I went and just searched. I'm like, I'm not gonna make because the stuff I did for money, it wasn't ethical, but I made good money. And I'm like, I can't work for $18, $15 an hour. I just can't do this. So I was like, okay, what's highest paying job in the area? I was in Boston, and I got off the subway, and I'm just looking on my phone. I'm like, I'm gonna walk around, and I saw a car dealership, and I was like, oh, car salesman, how much do they make? And it was like, oh, you can make over $100,000. So I went in, and I remember the guy asked me, I was like, hey, I want to have an interview. So he's like, do you have a suit? I said, no. He said, well, then you can't have an interview. So I didn't have any money. I got out of jail. I had a backpack full of clothes that didn't fit me because I gained 40 pounds. So I lived off of Salvation Army and clothes donations for a year. And I went and I asked my dad for money, and he was so mad at me at this time for all the mistakes I had made. And he was like, I'll give you $50. And I'm like, for a suit? like $50. He's like, that's all I'm giving you. You got to make it work. So I went to Salvation Army, and I got this like disgusting suit. It was old, smelled like mothballs, and but I wore it. So I showed up, and the guy was like, "Bro, where did you get that suit?" And and I told him the story, and he was like, "Whatever. Like I look up to you for doing it." So I got into sales, and I just like went all in. I have a pretty extreme personality. If you can't tell, I kind of get obsessed with things. And I got obsessed with getting good at sales. And I made it. I had that time when I got the drugs out of me and when I got my mind straight to like, hey, I'm going to use this as a launch pad for myself, because so many people stay in that cycle where they're like, oh, my life is so hard, and I have this and that. Listen, my credit score was 400. The government paid for me to be at a rehab, and when I got out, I had to pay $150 a week or something to live in a halfway house. I literally didn't have anything. I would take a bus halfway to the car dealership. It's like a 30-minute bus ride, and then I would walk another 45 minutes to get there, and then another 45 minutes back to the bus stop at night to try to catch the last bus home. And if I didn't make the last bus home, I'd have to walk that other amount. So it was like I was fully committed to making that a springboard for my success, and that hardship was my cornerstone, right? So it prepared me to go into business and to get into business for myself, because it's like, hey, I can never be in a situation that bad again, right? I can invest everything that I make above and beyond my bills into the growth of my team, my business, and help Celeste grow. And worst case, I lose it all. I will never be even close to as bad as it was at that point in my life. So for me, like, that's my cornerstone, right? Like, that's like, hey, I have this cornerstone here. I'm going to build this wall, and I'm not scared to tear it down again and restart. Right? Like, I was on a full scholarship pre-med path. I majored in chemistry in college, and like, that was my plan, to be a surgeon. I have like 4 doctors in my family and surgeons. That was like the thing. I was like groomed for it, right? But clearly that didn't work out, and I'm glad it didn't, because I found that like that wasn't the wall, right? Like that wasn't the wall for the building that I'm going to build, and it's here. This is the building that I've found my happiness and my success at. So you can restart every day. A little bit about when I started insurance, when I started to build a team. Before SLS, it was over $60,000 in chargebacks from less than a year of roll-up debt to me that I had from building a team, and then people leaving and the policies canceling. And I had over $100,000 in credit card debt that I went into to start everything. I mean, I got an office, I got cubicles, I got computers, I took cash advances to pay people. Like, it was a lot. And I still, the whole time, like, I knew it was going to work out, because it was like, dude, you went through like hell to get here, and like, this is nothing compared to what you had gone through to get there. So moral of the story is, like, no one has to hit a low like I hit. I mean, that's pretty low. But use your financial and personal hardships to grow, because we can use these as foundations and as cornerstones for our lives to construct the lives that we want. And you can do anything that you want, right? Like Napoleon Hill said, the average person is between 40 and 60 typically, until they're like, you know what, I've learned enough, and I'm sick of like working for the man, and I'm gonna go create something for myself with the stuff that I know and the hardships I've been through. So have some courage, go out there, you guys can do it. Okay, if you're going through a hardship right now, I promise you, it's preparing you to be able to make money, to be able to make good money, because I can guarantee Rory's gone through some financial hardships in business at one point or another, and like for him to for the business to have the revenue it has now, like, you have to learn things along the way to be able to prepare for the things that are coming. So at the end of all this, I'm getting kind of nervous here, but use your personal and financial hardships as reasons to grow. We all have them. You can let your environment control you, or you can control your environment. You can be a victim or a victor. It's up to you to decide which one you are. Thank you.